Growing a business is kind of tricky right now. Supply chains are squeezed, tariffs and trade policies are dynamic, and cash flow, it's tighter than ever. You need clarity to come out on top. Without it, you risk falling behind. If only you could hop in the DeLorean and see the future, right? Thankfully, there's NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite has real-time forecasting to help you move ahead with confidence. This is your AI-powered business management suite and the #1 cloud ERP. Trusted by over 42,000 businesses, NetSuite brings accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR all under one roof. It's your single source of truth, giving you the data and control you need to move quickly. And with AI built in, you can automate the busy work and focus on strategy. NetSuite helps you see what's stuck, what it's costing you, and how to pivot fast. If I were running a business with a lot of moving parts, I'd use NetSuite for full control over everything. Tame the chaos with NetSuite. If your revenues are at least in 7 figures, download the free ebook, Navigating Global Trade, 3 Insights for Leaders at netsuite.com/SPI. That's netsuite.com/SPI. You spent months building towards launch day, but when the clock hits 0, your site crashes. Bots swarm, and loyal fans rage on Reddit. That's not good. Fanfare was built to stop that. Fanfare is the drop platform made for high-pressure moments, stampede-proof infrastructure, verified waitlists, and bot filters that actually work. Instead of refunds and rage, you get retention and revenue. And that sounds great to me. Your next launch shouldn't be a gamble. Get Fanfare's 5-step hype drop playbook and learn how to bulletproof your drop at fanfare.io/playbook. Again, that's fanfare.io/playbook. Hey, I get it. You've worked really hard to build up your business and it's doing great. So great that you need help now. The most important thing for your business is to hire the right people to support it. So how can you find amazing candidates quickly? Easy. Just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you stand out and hire fast. And with Sponsored Jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. And it makes a huge difference. According to Indeed data, Sponsored Jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. And it's one of the largest databases of job seekers, too, giving business owners access to a wide range of candidates. And one of the things I love most about Indeed is the job alerts feature. I get notified when new candidates apply. There's no need to wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/smartpassive. Just go to Indeed.com/smartpassive right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/smartpassive. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring Indeed is all you need. This is the Smart Passive Income Podcast with Pat Flynn, session number 288. The 4 blades.
Welcome to the Smart Passive Income Podcast, where it's all about working hard now so you can sit back and reap the benefits later. And now your host. He continues to learn with you each and every day, Pat Flynn.
Still using a copy-paste website? Break the template trap with Framer. Whether you're overwhelmed by traditional site builders or frustrated with cookie-cutter designs, Framer gives you the freedom to create a site that's professional, polished, and uniquely yours. Framer is the design-first, no-code website builder that lets anyone ship a production-ready site in minutes. It's free to start, allowing you to browse hundreds of pixel-perfect templates or even design something on your own on a totally blank canvas. Add bold animations like appear effects, text effects, parallax scrolling, scroll animations, looping animations, and much more in seconds. The built-in AI handles the heavy lifting, generating starter layouts, and can even translate your entire site to any language. Ready to build a site that looks hand-coded without hiring a developer? Launch your site for free at framer.com and use code SPI to get your first month of Pro on the house. That's framer.com, promo code SPI. Framer.com, promo code SPI. Rules and restrictions may apply. With running your own business, legal questions always come with the territory. Like, can I use this contractor agreement? What do I do if a client doesn't pay? Am I even structured the right way for taxes? Instead of Googling your way through legal landmines, imagine having a law firm ready to address your business's legal needs without the sticker shock. That's what you get with Legal Shield's small business plans. Legal Shield helps entrepreneurs access real legal help on contract reviews, collection letters, business formation guidance, and even help navigating IRS audits. Members can schedule consultations, upload documents through the app, and get support from a provider law firm that knows small business laws in your state. Plus, consultations on taxes or trademarks help you stay ahead of potential problems. And if a client is late on a payment, Legal Shield steps in with professional collection letters so you can protect your hard-earned revenue, all for a fraction of the price of hiring a lawyer on your own. Go to LegalShield.com/SPI or call 833-570-9980 to learn more and get big business legal support without a big business budget. That's LegalShield.com/SPI. Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me today in this session of the Smart Passive Income Podcast. We have a fun one today. We have a couple on board with us who is behind the brand The Four Blades over at the4blades.com. That's the number or numerical 4, the4blades.com. What is that? Well, I'll let them tell you what it's all about, but it's about a topic that I never even knew existed, because when I met these two people, Rebecca and Joe Winston over in Australia, which was actually at an event hosted by Darren Rouse, one of my favorite people over at ProBlogger, I met this couple. They told me, first of all, they just thanked me like crazy because apparently I had a lot to do with their success, and they'll tell you all about that. But, I always like to say that, I'm just the guide, and it is those who succeed thanks to my guidance who are the ones who deserve all the credit, because they're the ones who are taking action. I could guide people all day, but if they're not going to do the work, then you're not going to get any results. And Rebecca and Joe have definitely put in the work to create an amazing brand, again, in a topic, in a realm that I never even knew existed. And to tease it a little bit, it involves a kitchen appliance, hence the blades thing. And maybe some of you who are in Italy or in Europe or in Australia might know a little bit about where I'm going with this. But if you're in the US, you probably have no idea because you've never heard of this kitchen appliance before. And so we're just going to get right into the interview because it's so fantastic what they've been able to do as a result of putting their personalities into their brand, as a result of actually just providing a ton of value and building a digital magazine as their primary tool for generating an income that has allowed them to, as a couple, be there with their little one at home. And it's just, this is why I do what I do. I want people to succeed, but when I see that they are living the lifestyle that they want because of the action that they've taken, if I've had a little bit even to do with that, it just makes me so proud and happy and motivated to do this even more. And so hopefully you all will be motivated after listening to this episode. It's a lot of fun. Rebecca and Joe are so cool, and I cannot wait to see them again. But here we are just a few weeks after I met them for the first time in Australia, and let's get right to it. Here we go. Hey guys, what's up? I'm so happy to introduce Rebecca and Joe from the4blades.com to you. Bec and Joe, just thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having us, Pat.
We have been listeners since back in 2010. So it was just so great to meet you in Brisbane recently, and it was kind of nice because a lot of our decisions that we've made along the way with our business have been based on advice you've given us via the podcast. So it's kind of exciting to kind of come full circle and be invited on the podcast.
Oh, totally. I had to invite you when I learned about your story and what you had going on and where things were going. So I'd love to start in the beginning, actually. Bec, if we could start with you, tell me about what the Four Blades is all about. We'll start with what that is, and then we'll go kind of back even further in time.
Sure, no problems. Okay, so the Four Blades is, it's referring to this kitchen appliance called the Thermomix. Okay, so it's really big in Australia and it's just growing in the US right now. But basically, it's this kitchen appliance that pretty much does everything. Okay, so you can cook a whole meal in it, but you could also make a smoothie. So thinking kind of around the Vitamix or something, where you can really blitz up a smoothie at really high power, but you can also in this cook as well. So for example, you put the onions in and you chop it up, and then you add in your meat and your tomato, canned tomatoes and a whole lot of veggies, and then you set it to cook for an hour, and then you've got a casserole at the end of it. So
and it just does it does the chopping and everything for you?
Yeah, it does the chopping. It does the sautéing, and then so you do steps along the way.
You can mill flours and all sorts of stuff. It's like the power tool for the kitchen.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is like the power tool for the kitchen. I'm dairy free and gluten free. In fact, like we're grain free as a household and I don't have sugar. So I've got a few dietary intolerances and it means that we do everything from scratch. So like we make our own grain free bread and we make everything from scratch. So obviously it's a really healthy way to eat as well. And in Australia, while there are lots of people who use it to make amazing cake batters and pastries and things like that, there's also a huge contingent of people who do have dietary intolerances who love knowing that you can mill your own almonds into almond meal or almond flour, I think you call it in the US. And so that's what we're referring to by the 4 blades. But then it's a pretty expensive purchase. So in Australia, it's around about the $2,000 mark. And what we try and do is make it improve the investment by making our digital magazine and our blog. And we have previously had our podcast, which ran for 150 episodes. We want to be like this great companion to the Thermomix to help people make the most of their investment. So that's kind of where the 4 blades comes from.
Cool. And then, Joe, when did the 4 blades start, and how soon before that were you actually introduced to the Thermomix?
So the 4 blades as a podcast started 4 years ago, Bec?
April, May 2013.
2013, yeah. And we probably bought the Thermomix the November before that, so 2012. So we'd only had it for 6 months before we started the blog and the podcast.
Okay. And what made you decide to say, you know what, I think there's something here that we could do to help other people related to this? I think it's kind of interesting. People might be listening to this and are thinking, you created a business out of a single kitchen appliance and a podcast about a kitchen appliance? Like, where did this idea, tell me the origin of it?
Well, it's one of those things that when you're listening to all these podcasts and all that sort of stuff, people are always talking about niches or niches. The riches are in the niches, and then that seems to be the stumbling block over all sorts of internet business startups. Is like, I don't know what my niche is, and that had been us for years. And then Bex sort of looked at me at one point and gone, What about the Thermomix? Like, it's clearly people spend a lot of money on it, and there's a lot of people that are interested. It was like there's a lot of hype around it on the internet when we started, and it just seemed perfect. Kind of came and hit us in the head.
Totally, and we're quite, we're into food and we're into health. And in terms of answering the question that you asked, Joe, about how we first came to know about it, it's actually called the bimby in Italy, and it's a really big phenomenon in Italy. And we were visiting some family in Rome, and we hear this do-do-do-do, which is the sound it makes when it's finished. And we're like, what is that? And my cousin had said to me, oh, that's the 4th member of our family. That's the bimby. And so we saw it for the first time in Italy. And then when we came home, we followed it up.
Wow. So that's incredible to have it described as the 4th member of a family. That means something, right? And so here there's kind of 2 groups of people. They get their Thermomix and they love it and will do everything with it. And then there's a group of people that get the Thermomix and they're quite overwhelmed by it, or they go, I don't know what to do with it. It's a new way of cooking. And so we really try and cater to both of those people. And really one of our key points is to grow kitchen confidence, because we really think that, when you're cooking at home, automatically it's going to be healthier because you know what's going in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I love that frame, kind of going into what the 4 blades is all about. Okay, so let's get into the beginning. You have this idea, guys, let's do something with this Thermomix thing. And what was it, to start a blog first? Like, tell me about the first steps and kind of the first motions that you took. Joe, if you could speak to that.
Oh, sure. So basically we had this thing, and Bec it might be actually good for Bec, because Bec was listening to podcasts.
Sure.
And this idea of a magazine came through. So Bec, do you want to?
Well, yeah. So kind of, I was listening to this podcast, and there was a guy talking about the fact that at the time on the iPad, the newsstand app, it couldn't be deleted. So it was one of those things, how when you get your Apple device, there are certain things that can't be deleted, and the newsstand app was one of those. So he was talking about digital publishing, and he was selling software for basically to develop your own magazine. And I listened to it, and then I listened to it again, and I think I listened to it a third time, and I was like, I reckon you could do a magazine for Thermomix users. That was kind of what I thought when I was listening to it, and I was like, that could be great. But we didn't want to just kind of open up a paid product, Pat. Like we were students of yours, right? So we wanted to really try and create and serve a community. And so that's kind of where Joe came in, because he was really wanting to start a podcast.
Yeah, I was just a big fan of podcasts, yours in particular, but just a fan of podcasts. I wanted to be on a podcast or start my own podcast, and I didn't know what to start it about. Bec had bought this software to produce a digital magazine, and we thought the Thermomix would be the go, but we didn't have an audience. So I thought, why don't we start a podcast about the Thermomix? So literally a audio cooking show, which everybody says is a bad idea, but it ended up being great. But where I started was with you. So I went straight to your website, followed the system, so you had a free podcasting system of YouTube videos, and I literally watched the first one. I think there was 6. Yep. I watched them one by one, and it was using that over a day. We had because in that, as well as how to build a blog in 2 minutes as well, one of the videos in there. So I followed that step by step. We've got the microphones. We're talking into the microphones that you recommended on that. So I just followed it step by step, and in 24 hours we had a blog and a business, and then within a week of that we had our first podcast out as well.
And tell me about that first episode. Like, did you even know what to say, and like how much planning was put into that first step into the finally publishing something online? Rebecca, maybe you could talk about that.
Well, look, so we look back. I don't know, Pat, if you do the same thing, but I'm sure the first episode is quite cringeworthy.
Yes.
And our podcast really evolved a lot over those 4 years. And in fact, episode 150 of the podcast, and we've taken, an extended hiatus now. And so episode 150 only came out a couple of months ago. And in it, we actually threw back to some of those early awkward moments and had a huge laugh about it. With just the fact we were a bit stilted and what have you. So we started off started talking basically just about random stuff, and then we developed themes around it, and then we developed more systems, and so it grew as we did.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's always going to be the case. I look back at some of my earlier episodes too, and it's just, like you said, very, very cringeworthy. But also great to see and kind of realize where you came from. And so 150 episodes later, you put a stop to the show, at least for now. I'm sure it's still getting listens now to help drive even more traffic to the website. What role did the podcast play, Joe, in your overall business, and kind of talk about the business model as well?
Yeah, it was crucial. So number one, it gave us confidence that we knew what we were talking about. So, and we had to develop a habit as well. So talking about Thermomix recipes every week became a habit. So that was really important. It also allowed us to grow an audience. So we went from nothing to 5,000 people on our Facebook page, which isn't huge, but it's 5,000 people more than nobody. Then the other thing we could do as well was it allowed us to interview people. So we could get in touch with some of the bigger names in Thermomix blogs and interview them in the podcast, which is another thing that you talk about all the time. Who doesn't want to be interviewed? It's such a great opportunity to connect with people. And that actually led us to our business partner, who had a huge community. She had something like 60,000 people on her Facebook page. Now she's got over 100,000. So her name's Peter. She's got a blog called The Road to Loving My Thermomix. And before, we didn't even meet in person, but we started this business, the three of us together, which was really, really exciting and just so cool that we could build this business from home with this person that's in another state of the country. It was it was critical to get everything to get us started and to where we are now.
That's really cool. And you said 5,000 people. Was that, you have more than that now, right?
Oh yeah, this was when we started the magazine.
How soon until you had gotten to that point after starting the podcast? Because that's a significant amount of people. I mean, what was the time frame like to get to that point?
Let me think. So probably about a year and a half.
Okay, so a little bit of time. And in the beginning, were there any moments where you're like, what are we doing, Joe? Like, is this really going to work for us? Or Bec, did you always know that if you just kept going with it, that this is something that would eventually turn out to be something awesome?
To be really honest with you, it was only literally a couple of months ago that we ever even considered that we would ever not have a podcast. So like we never really did. We were just kind of like, okay, we're just going to keep going. Like there were times like where we, like our regularity definitely improved later on in the piece for us. Mm-hmm. Our goal was weekly. Sometimes it was fortnightly. When we had our baby, I think we took like 7 weeks off. That wasn't our plan to take that long off, but we just realized that being new parents was really hard. Mm. So it was a little bit of a journey.
Yeah. And Pat, something good to know about Bec is she's quite driven. So we started the podcast, and then before launching the magazine, which is the paid product, we launched that when Bec was 8 months pregnant. So
you guys are crazy.
But it was also like driven by we'd been listening to Smart Passive Income and heard about your lifestyle around family, and that was really important to us as well. So Bec was just working really hard, 8 months pregnant, to launch this, and did the Jeff Walker product launch formula, mm-hmm. pregnant with the videos, but pregnant. It was really great, and worked amazingly.
That's cool. Joe, did the podcast come out first and then the magazine? Is that correct?
Oh yeah, big time. So the podcast was great. So that was the whole like the key driver of the podcast was to build a platform to sell to.
Okay, and then the magazine. Tell me about that launch. What is what is it that you're selling exactly? How much does it cost? And
sure, okay.
What did you do to promote it?
Okay, so basically we have a digital monthly magazine which is available for Apple and Android mobile devices. It's called the Four Blades Magazine. Mm-hmm. And it's a monthly magazine, so it's a monthly publication. The first issue came out in November 2014. We also have some bonus issues for subscribers. To subscribe currently is $5.99 a month. And individual issues are $6.99. And so, if you subscribe now, you obviously get the current issue and issues while your subscription is current, and you can buy back issues. So we, again, kind of like what we're talking about with the podcast, where you look back and it's a bit cringeworthy. Mm. We did a similar thing with the magazine. So after about 18 months, we looked back and went, oh, wow, we've really come a long way. But the cool thing about digital publishing is we actually were able to do a complete revamp of our early issues, so that we brought them up to the standard currently, and it was free for everyone to upgrade their copies. Because we just want to, we just want like the best for our community. Yeah. And that's, so digital publishing is what we have done basically. Like that is our paid product, and it is our way. Like we give probably 40 to 60 tried and tested recipes. So obviously, the Thermomix is super popular, especially in Australia and Europe, and there's a really wide range of recipes out there. So our key thing is, in terms of helping people make the most of their Thermomix, is that we have no one has time for a thermo fail. Okay, so we have like a recipe testing community internationally of about 70 people who test all of our recipes to make sure that they're good to go before publication. Oh,
that's pretty cool. That's a cool way to get your kind of community involved and getting people to step up and become sort of the more super users of your fan base. And I want to get into the fans and the community in just a moment, but let's go back to the numbers really quick. So you said $5.99 a month. And so if they stay on for a whole year, that's, around $70, $72, which is, a subscription. So it's essentially kind of like a membership model at a lower price point. The benefit is that for less than $100, you can get the most out of this really expensive product. And so it kind of makes sense to kind of upgrade to get what it is that you're offering. There almost seems like an obvious affiliate relationship that could be made here with the company, if is that something that you guys had ever thought about or doing to sell this product, the Thermomix, or is that a no-go?
No, yeah, that's a bit of a no-go just in terms of the company that sells them. They're not really interested. They've got their own
like distributors or
sales
whatever.
model.
Yeah. Oh, so and that's probably the other key thing is that the way that you buy a Thermomix is actually through a consultant. So I guess the most widely recognized model of that internationally would probably be Tupperware. So you can't just go to the shops and buy a Thermomix. You actually have to do that through a Thermomix consultant.
Oh, interesting. It's so cool that you guys have sort of built a business model off of a business model like that, but it's you're offering value, you're offering information, and you're building a community at the same time. So, okay, that answers that question. And let's talk about community really quick, Joe. Like, what do you guys do beyond just, offering the magazine and the podcast to foster that community and get your audience involved?
So, yeah, obviously we had the podcast for 150 episodes and we're active on Facebook. That's sort of where we're moving towards a little bit more from the podcast is into more Facebook Live stuff. And then we're looking to maybe turn that back into a podcast as well as to use the content in two different ways. We haven't decided on that 100%. We also do a yearly challenge. So at ProBlogger where we met, Jada's Selma talks about her 30-day green smoothie challenge.
Yes.
So we took that idea from Jada and made our own. So it was called 30 Mix, which is about making meals in under 30 minutes with the Thermomix using all the different functions of the machine. So we did one year, which was over a school holiday period, and it went so well. So we went from, again, it was really to build our list and to build the community around it. So,
it was a free challenge?
Free challenge for anybody that wanted to get involved. Uh-huh. They just went to a landing page, signed up, and we got 10,000 people sign up to both challenges. So we've run it the last 2 years, and we're about to do our third one this year. And we got 10,000 people both years, and 80% of them were brand new people both times. So it was just such a huge boost to our community that way. And people got so involved in it. Like, it was so great to see their creations, and they'd make videos and they'd hashtag it with 30 Mix so we could see everything that was happening. And it was a really great way to just get people really involved hands-on in what we're doing. And we were also able to sell on the back of that as well. So not really, a big hard sales pitch, but just sort of say, hey, this is from the magazine. If this is the kind of thing that you like, this is where you'll find it, sort of thing. So it was really good.
So Jada had spoken about, that when she was talking about her challenges, she kind of went through different ways that some people might monetize their challenge, by selling something at the end or what have you. But because the recipes we'd chosen were from the magazine, what we actually said was that today's challenge is brought to you by the dinners issue, or today's challenge is brought to you by the sweets issue, or today's, is brought to you by the freezer issue. And on that day, that particular issue for 24 hours was reduced in price.
Nice.
So a lot of people use that opportunity to fill their libraries of issues that they might not have. So I think I worked out not from new subscribers, because obviously new subscribers in that period, and we also would sell normal issues, but just for the back issues that were on sale that day, I think, within a 7-day period, I think probably we made like $2,000, which covered the costs of all of the video production, because we did videos, like we made it really fun. We dressed up like 80s Olympians and tried to make it, because some people get quite stressed in the kitchen and they kind of go, I'm not a good cook, or, and we just want to break that down and have some fun. So we, dressed up, and Joe had like this massive wig on, and we're being really silly and kind of going like, it's okay to have fun in the kitchen, basically.
That's cool. I love that. The challenges are great. They are always fantastic for getting your audience and your community to actually take action within a short time period, to give them those small wins. And I can imagine like somebody being really interested in a particular kind of meal, such as desserts, for example. And then there's this whole challenge, and there's a day specifically about desserts. I'm like, I'm going to get excited. That's the point at which I would then want to jump on board and, see how much else you might have to offer. So I love that idea of sort of hitting in all those different angles, and then it's just a really cool system that you guys have created. If you wouldn't mind sharing in however much transparency you want, like how well is the business doing at this point? Like what are numbers or subscriptions like, however comfortable you are at sharing?
Well, we've got around about the 5,000 subscriber mark. So, and obviously we've got my business partner, Peter. So she's in Canberra. And, in terms of before that, you asked about the launch, which we probably didn't answer, in entirety, that part of the launch as well, as Joe said, Peter had a huge community. Mm-hmm. So we were launching to both of our individual communities like a new product. So, there's her and I, and then, so we've got about 5,000 subscribers. And so, like in terms of revenue, our revenue grew by about 41% in the last financial year. And, nice. And it's kind of in the multiple six-figure range. So, and obviously that kind of goes down into expenses and Peter and Joe and I.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely like allowed Bec. So Bec works, we've always sort of worked for ourselves, and Bec's also an osteopath, which is, what are they in the States?
Well, kind of like a physical therapist.
Yeah.
So like,
okay.
so hands-on, yeah.
Yeah, so, but it allowed us to stay home with our baby, which is just incredible.
It's an amazing experience, and Peter would say the same. Peter's got 3 young boys, and we kind of, whenever there's a school like swimming carnival or athletics day, she'll kind of send me a message and go, "It's so cool that I can be here." So we love that we're able to be at home, and Joe's absolutely right. Like, my goal was like to be at home with my baby for like 6 months, and my overarching goal was that Joe could be like a Pat Flynn dad and be at home, and we totally were able to do both of those.
Her
things.
actual words.
That was my actual.
Are you
word,
serious?
actually.
That's funny. But that's so cool. I mean, congratulations to you both, and it's kind of crazy when you look back at your story and how it all started, and just the Thermomix. Like, who knew? I mean, most people listening to this probably have never even heard of that before, and are probably going to finish this episode and have a stroll around the kitchen looking for different appliances they can maybe create a podcast episode about or something. But I'm super thankful for your honesty and sharing the process along the way. Were there any moments where you faced challenges in building this business?
Definitely. I mean, like, the magazine has been such, like, Peter and I will continually be like, so now we have a photography team. Okay. But there was a time where between us, and like Peter really took a lion's share of cooking and taking photos, but she might have done like 30 recipes in the month, and I might have done 15. So it has been chaos, and we're in like a really big transition phase at the moment where, we've had the magazine for nearly 3 years. By the time this podcast comes out to your audience, Pat, where we will be coming up, to our 3rd birthday. And obviously technology changes in that time. And so our big challenge at the moment is making sure that our technology continues to fit the needs of our readers and to listening to our community, so that we are able to still serve them in a really effective way. And that is sometimes just a huge leap of faith / having to majorly upskill to be able to understand what we need to do. So even though, you can outsource things, I think you still need to have a really, understanding of what you're doing and decisions you're making in your business. So it's a really big transition time for us at the moment while we try and make sure that the technology improves.
Right. I mean, that all makes sense. I mean, it's also comforting to know, however, that you have this community who knows who you are. You have their email addresses, or many of them. So wherever things end up being, wherever the shop goes up later on, you're able to survive, and you're able to thrive with that community that you've built. So I think that's just super cool. So in order for people to kind of stay up to date on what's next or what's coming, we talked before we recorded about a particular link, because some people may have already visited the4blades.com, but that may end up looking a little bit different down the road. So if you'd like to listen to this and stay up to date with everything that Bec and Joe are up to, the best place to go would be where?
Well, we will still be at thefourblades.com.
Okay.
But in terms of for your audience, because what we would love to do is, there might be some people listening that go, oh, I wonder what that looks like in the back end. Like, so for example, we've created, as Joe talked about, the 30 mix challenge. We actually, the way that we use that challenge to drive people to our app, which is really our main place of business, is we actually created, at the time it was free and currently it's subscriber only, we created a free issue for that period of time and we updated it every day. And there was because I said it was kind of a bit of like an Olympics theme. So we gave like a gold, silver and bronze medalist because everyone created their things and then created their recipe and then shared photos of it online. Mm-hmm. So we would pick like a gold, silver and bronze medalist for the day and give them, free subscriptions and things like that. So we had that. That's the way we kind of drove people to the app. But we'd, love to give your community a bit of a subscriber view of that. So if you go to thefourblades.com/Pat, we'll just make sure we can kind of hook up all the podcast listeners with, a free subscription to make sure that they can go in and see what we've done. And obviously they're always willing to, we're always willing to answer any questions. So if they want to reach out to us, they're more than welcome to. And yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. So the 4 Blades, and that's with the number 4, right? The
That's right.
fourblades.com/Pat.
Pat. Yeah.
No AU in there, right?
No AU.
Okay. Cool. Let's talk about the podcast. So a lot of listeners have a podcast or they're going to start one or were very interested in starting one. You had stopped at episode 150. I'd love to get into why you decided to put a stop to it. And kind of what the plans are moving forward. So, Joe, if you wanted to speak on that, that'd be awesome to kind of just, because I was curious about it too. Like, why put an end to it if it's working out so well for you?
Yeah, sure. So I think it's something that's really important to think about, and something that isn't really spoken about or thought about very much is what is the goal and what is the end point for a podcast or anything like that you're putting through it. Even if you don't stick to it, it's good to have a plan. We didn't, but it's one of those things. Like, I'm sure everybody's had a podcast that they loved and they listened to it, and then one day it just disappeared, like it just fizzled out of nowhere. And that's something that we really didn't want to happen for us. One of the reasons, or the biggest reason why we did end at 150 is that it was just really a lot of work. So because it was effectively a cooking show as an audio format, we would cook at least three recipes every week to test them to make sure that they worked, because we didn't want to recommend something that we knew that we didn't know worked really well.
Right.
So we would test everything. So which would mean that it would be 3 recipes if they all worked first go. And the reason why we have a magazine that's successful and all that sort of stuff is because there are so many things that don't work on the internet as far as cooking goes. Mm-hmm. So we would test 3, and of those maybe 1 would work. So we'd have to find another 2. Sometimes we'd have to come up with a whole new theme. And then I was still editing. Every week I would be editing the podcast going, I really need to find somebody else to edit
for 150 episodes.
So it was just just a lot of work. So we thought, you know what, we will put an end date to it, wrap it up in a bow, and find the best way to move forward with that. So we didn't say that we're going to stop doing the podcast forever, but just find the best way to engage with our audience moving forward.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It's really hard to make that decision sometimes, especially something like that is working. But I also know that by doing that, you're opening up so much time for you to focus on a lot of the next steps. And, what got you here won't get you there. And I love that you've kind of wrapped everything up in a bow. Tell me about, the download numbers since actually just stopping. It's been a couple months now since the last episode. Are you still getting download numbers? Does it still seem to be actually helping out?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And within the thousands per month still, so we, I checked last month. So I think, obviously this is coming out kind of in October, but so we finished in June, mm-hmm. and so we finished early June, and in July we still kind of had by the end of July, we had 3,000 to 4,000 downloads of the podcast, and obviously we hadn't put out any new content.
So they're not, and I'd encourage people not to get too wrapped up in numbers of podcast downloads, especially if you've niched down. Like, you're not going to get like millions of downloads when you're a cooking like a Thermomix cooking show, but you're like, it's those core fans that, you know, as you know, Pat, like with a podcast, you're in somebody's ear hole, so like it's quite intimate and people feel like they really know you. So that kind of connection, you can't beat it. So I'm still a massive advocate for podcasts. I think they're such a great medium, and especially when you can use them well to build that connection with your audience. So don't get too hooked up on the numbers. Sometimes having that small group of committed fans is the best thing for you.
Yeah, I love that. Now, besides the podcast, are there any other traffic generation strategies that you've used? Now, you obviously said the challenge earlier too, but are you doing anything else like social media wise, or using any other tools or strategies to help your audience grow?
Well, we have, I mean, look, because of, I've got to say that I am not someone who loves being on social media. But so kind of my workaround with that is that I kind of used Edgar to break it down into our podcast, recipes, you know, and I have like different categories. So magazine, podcast, recipes, and just kind of miscellaneous, and in Edgar, and kind of created an Edgar strategy, because obviously we have more content than you can poke a stick at, with all the recipes that we've put up for the podcasts, and then 150 you know, episodes of the podcast. So that's what we're doing at the moment, and that kind of you know, then drives traffic to the blog as well. And obviously we've been around now for quite a while, so and I guess also email. You know, we have a pretty strong email list.
And also Beck's doing this cool thing on Facebook Live at the moment where she just gets people she just goes live and says, okay, what are your allergies and what have you got in the fridge, and I'll find a recipe for you.
Yeah, so like I give like personal so basically I say, you know, that to grow your kitchen confidence, you should try one new recipe a week, something you haven't tried before, to grow your repertoire, try new things. And so I've done it like a couple of times now where I've gone online and people have given me their scenario. So how many people they're cooking for, if there's any things that they like, any kind of aversions, anything that they're intolerant to, any, you know, and then I'll personally come up with a recipe for them to try in the next week.
That's cool. So how do you, that's a scary thing to do, but obviously very cool, because if you can pull it off, it's like super impressive, shares authority, and it just shows that you're there for your community too. I think a lot of people, that's what live is great for. It's like showing how well you do with ad lib, or, you know, just right there in the moment. How do you do that?
Well, look, I
think you've got a talent for it, to be fair. Like, I'm often off the side just answering comments, just going, I have no idea.
I think because you know, I know the magazine recipes really well because of the editing process and the recipe testing process. And I know the feedback that we get from the recipe testers, and I think about that person. And also, I suppose, you know, in my role as an osteopath with my patients, you know, I'm looking, you know, in terms of whether it be exercises that they do or kind of habit tweaks to improve their mobility, you know, recognizing where people are at and then helping them make a small change to move them in the direction that they're trying to go.
Yeah, I like that. It's similar to like when I go live and I do site reviews or reviews of like people's products and stuff. I don't know how I do it. I just do it because it's just the life I'm involved with right now. That's just I'm immersed in that stuff, just like you are too. So, you know, the recommendation for everybody listening out there is, if you want to try that, do it. It's not going to be easy at first, but it can really benefit you and your community at the same time, to challenge yourself to do something like that. And so I don't know what that might be for individual listeners out there, but we can brainstorm if you have questions about that. I think it's a really cool thing because it can help you elevate in the niche quite quickly when you can do that on the fly. And it just shows that you're there for your community too. So I love that.
Absolutely. And I think it's probably what you find yourself giving advice on most of the time anyway. You know what I mean? Like, so if you find yourself, always, critiquing someone's website or giving marketing advice or, offering recipes for things or exercises and stretches. That's probably it. If you find yourself to be able to do that on the cuff in person, usually you're probably going to be okay live as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. Any let's do one final tip from each of you. Bec, we'll start with you. But for the listeners out there who are at that stage where they're just kind of getting started and they're maybe kind of just getting into a niche finally, and they're looking to just get to that point like where you guys are at, where you can live that lifestyle you want. I mean, any words of encouragement or motivation for them in their start?
Well, I suppose, just acknowledging that, like, I think it's such a journey. And so, so I'm one of 7 kids, and I've got 6 brothers and sisters, obviously, that a lot of them have their own business. And so, I've got a brother who has a 25-year-old business, okay, and is doing really well. We've got a business that's now, kind of, the magazine's 3 years old. I've got a brother who has a business who's around the 15-year mark. And I think it's important to know that, it just changes. So it's not so much that you go, you kind of might overcome a challenge that you might have in the first 6 months. But then, there's a different set of challenges at 18 months. Or Pat, does that kind of relate to your business, Pat? Maybe you've got some challenges now, or things that you're working on, things that you're trying to improve for your community. And they're different to the challenges or things you were working on at the 12-month mark, but they're still growing. And 100%. So because people might look at you and go, "Oh, Pat has got it sorted."
Nope,
but
definitely not.
But I think it's good. I think it's good to recognize and go, "Hey, yeah, there are businesses like my brother's who's 25 years old and is doing really well and making a really big difference in the community, and yet there's still challenges in that business that are very different to the challenges we're facing at 3 years." So I think it's just kind of good for the people starting out not to kind of go, "Oh, I'm never going to get there," because kind of you never do really get there. It just changes.
Yeah, it's almost it's almost like similar to building muscle, right? Getting stronger, you got to break those muscles down, and you're going to have to go through those challenges in your business, in your life, to get through all that stuff. As my buddy John Lee Dumas once said, every master starts as a disaster, but every master goes through more disasters to,
totally
continue to grow. And so, yeah, thank you for that, Bec. I appreciate that. Joe, any final words of advice from you?
I think I'd probably say one of the key things I've learned from you, Pat, and I think what makes you a really great teacher is if you go back, and I'd encourage people to way back to the start of your podcast or all sorts of things that you've done, you can see that you're really an open learner as well, and that's that commitment to always being better and then finishing something and going, how can I do that better next time? Which I can see that you do with your speaking, with your podcasts, with your interviewing, everything like that is what makes the difference long term. So it's just those incremental improvements over a long period of time, which lets you become better, it lets you master something. And it is those things that end up being what you're good at in the long run, so it's not, we've got a digital magazine about cooking, but what we're good at now is digital publishing, creating communities, communication, all of and technology around that and the technology that goes around that. So it's not the thing, it's the things you do to make the thing that matters.
Yeah.
And sure. I think kind of the key tip at the base of that is, for someone just starting out is just to start. If you have a Facebook Live where, you've got 2 people that are viewing you, it's not going to make or break your career. But from that, you'll go, what didn't work about that?
Everyone starts at 0.
Exactly. In terms of what Joe said about the style of always learning. Okay, that Facebook Live didn't go so well. I'm going to listen to a podcast about that. Or, what do you call it? Pat, you do your just in time learning. So maybe you've, go, oh, where's that stuff that I've been keeping for Facebook Live? I'm really going to invest some time this week and I'm going to make some tweaks to my style. And so you just start where you start. And if it doesn't work, then you go, okay, well, that wasn't great. So I'm going to try something different.
I love that. Thank you so much. And I think the one question that some people might have before I let you go would be, would you share any tools that you have for how one might be able to get started or any resources perhaps on creating their own kind of digital magazines. I don't know if there are any that are available that you could share with the community.
Well, Pat, I've done a lot of work around this. All the off-the-shelf stuff isn't great. Like there's probably the best one if you're looking to, just get something off the shelf would be Maz, M-A-Z, but that's quite expensive, or Joomag, which is Joomag. But what I've learned and going through app building process and all that sort of stuff is that apps are really tricky, and it's a bit of the wild, wild west at the moment. Like there's all these different coding languages for apps. And this is coming from someone who's not a coder. So I'm sure there's coders out there going, oh my God, Joe, you've got to use Swift. That's the go. That's the gold standard. But it is changing all the time. So what I find has a standard is web. So creating, so it's good old WordPress for me. Like, and HTML5 is still the gold standard, and you can create that so that it's very mobile friendly. And then there are coding languages like Xamarin, which you can wrap a really good WordPress, a really good website that's mobile friendly up and turn that into an app. So, and that's Xamirin, I think, Xamarin. So yeah, I would still be erring on the side of web rather than apps is probably my
as a starting place.
As a starting place, especially for budgetary stuff as well, because it's so expensive to go down the app road. There's another company called App Match as well, which is quite good. Jared over there, if you've got the website, he can help you do the wrap it up into Xamarin too.
Yeah, Jared was featured on the SPI podcast a while back. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so they're great too, and they do some good work as well. So yeah, that's probably the only, like, they're not the cool here's the tool to do it really easily, because it just doesn't exist.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I think I just want to make sure I got that in, because I think people were going to begin to ask. So thank you so much, Bec and Joe, for being here. thefourblades.com/Pat. That's where you're going to go. And just, I appreciate you so much. It was just such a pleasure to meet you not too long ago, and now to have a chance to speak to you even more and learn more about your story and get inspired by it. Just thank you both so much. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
The pleasure's ours, Pat.
All right, we'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Rebecca and Joe from thefourblades.com. Actually, if you wanted to go and check to see their latest, and them knowing that you guys are going to go check them out, and they want to show you what matters to you, head on over to thefourblades.com/Pat. Like they said, thefourblades.com/Pat. And check it out. Also, if you want to get the links and all the resources mentioned in this episode, just head on over to smartpassiveincome.com/session288. And you can take it from there to get all the links. And then finally, just a big thank you once again to Rebecca and Joe Winston from thefourblades.com for just taking action, like I said, but also just being so supportive of SPI and the brand. And I hope those of you who are coming into the brand for the first time, hearing me, not really knowing what to do, hopefully you're getting inspiration from Rebecca and Joe and a number of other interviews that are there in the archive for you, to just walk you through the process of what it's like to get started, to put something up there, and to get results. And like they were saying, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It takes error, trial and error. But you got to keep getting up once you get to that point where you feel like you can't go anymore. You just keep going. Persistence is the key. And so that's my final word for you today. Thank you so much. I look forward to serving you in next week's episode. And we're closing in on the end of October. And finally, if you haven't already done so, you can check out the Build Your Own Brand 5-Day Challenge. Many people are going through it right now, but you can check it out and begin your 5-day challenge to finally get your website up and running with an email service provider connected to it. Just check it out over at smartpassiveincome.com/BYOB, and you can go from there. So awesome. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Smart Passive Income Podcast at www.smartpassiveincome.com.
Hey there, quick pause here because I have to tell you about a tool that completely transforms the podcasting workflow, Riverside. I get it. I used to juggle multiple platforms just to record one podcast episode. It was exhausting. Zoom for recording, Audacity for editing, and then a bunch of different apps just to create clips and social posts. I've tried other ones as well. They were okay, but they were clunky and super time-consuming. That's where Riverside has massively helped. I can do it all in one place: recording, editing, repurposing, one platform, one streamlined flow. I just log in, record with my guests no matter where they are in the world, and just like that, studio-quality audio and high-resolution video all in one. And get this, even if your Wi-Fi glitches, Riverside records locally on your device so everything sounds and looks crystal clear. But here's my favorite feature: Riverside's AI editing tool. You can remove silences and filler words with just one click. Hours saved. With Magic Clips, Riverside also automatically finds the best moments and turns them into ready-to-post videos for YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram, all without the extra editing. So if you're looking to level up your production quality and simplify your workflow, go to smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside and use code SMART to get 1 month free on the Pro plan. That's smartpassiveincome.com/Riverside, promo code SMART. It's built by creators for creators, and I think you're going to love it. Have you dreamt about being your own boss, but still haven't made the first steps to making that dream a reality? Well, I get that. Starting a business can feel super overwhelming with legal forms, paperwork, finances. It's a lot. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about Taylor Brands. Taylor is a complete business builder designed to make launching your business simple and stress-free. You can register your LLC in just minutes, keeping your personal assets and the business assets separate from day one. From there, you get access to everything you need to get off the ground: legal documents, licenses and permits, invoicing and bookkeeping tools, and even a 100-day business coaching program, all designed to help you hit the ground running. You'll also get a free personalized business plan, branding tools, and so much more. And of course, listeners of this show get an exclusive 35% discount to get started. All you have to do is head to taylorbrands.com/SPI. That's TAILORBRANDS.com/SPI. Stop dreaming, start building with Taylor Brands.